Welcome back to Don't Be Shy podcast, and today we've got a very special guest, former Leeds Rhinos captain, Stevie Ward. Thank you for taking time out your day to come and see the Gaffa. You know what I'm saying?
See the Gaffa. Love it.
It's been about 8 years, Stevie. Who would have thought 8 years later we'd be here?
8 years, mate. I know. 8 years. Mate, thanks for having me. I'm enjoying it. I'm excited. It's good to see you all and meet you all, mate.
It's good to see you as well. Just a quick little recap. When I seen you in 2015, that was a very good year, wasn't it, for Leeds? You won the treble. How did it feel being part of the treble winning team?
Mate, it was... We all sat down in a meeting room at the start of that year. And obviously the people we had in that room, you know, we had Kevin Sinfield, Jamie Peacock, Danny Maguire, Rob Burrow, all these players. We had a team of freaks, mate, and I mean in a good way, like absolutely class players. And we sat down in this video room and we set an intention to say, look, we're going to win 3 trophies this year. We're going to go do the treble, which at that time was probably deemed to be physically impossible. You know, like with how hard rugby league is, mate, with how hard it is to win, you know, to finish top of the table, to then win a Challenge Cup as well, but also to win a grand final. In rugby league, it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's not physically, it's not easy.
Mentally draining, isn't it?
Mentally, mate, it's hard. And so we sat down, mate, at the start of that year, and obviously we managed to do it, and it was flipping unreal. It was unreal to do it because, I guess, because of memories that we've got from that time, but also just to have that single-minded vision, mate, is really, really powerful. And when everyone's on the same page, life's good when you've got that, you know.
So how did it feel playing at Wembley and Old Trafford? You know what I'm saying, sold out, just in front of sold out crowds?
Yeah, how did it feel? Well, I remember I was 18 years old, and I was doing my A-levels at the same time as training professionally. So I was, I think I was turned 18, I'd made my debut. I made my debut, mate, with a red Mohican. I don't know if you've seen pictures of it, but we raised money for Sport Relief because, well, to raise money for Sport Relief, what we'd done, all the team, I don't know whose idea it was, it wasn't Brian McDermott's, but all the team had dyed their hair red. We went over and played St Helens, mate, and we got smashed, got absolutely smashed. That was my debut. But then, I think it was 2 months later, I went to collect my A-level results, and I got some good results in that, and I was happy with it. But a week after that is when I first played at Wembley. Played at standoff in front of 80,000 people, mate. I can remember walking out and just got smacked by a brick wall of noise, and I was like, wow. That's not something I've never obviously experienced at that point. And I can remember being so nervous. I'd never been as nervous. I remember going into the toilets at Wembley, mate. The change rooms are massive. Yeah. And then you got to, like, every time it's like a maze to get to toilets. And I got to these toilets, got to this cubicle, and I felt dizzy. I never felt that nervous. I felt dizzy, mate.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So playing that game, you know, there was one thing that I remember. There was a sprinter actually, and it's just come up to me. There's a sprinter called Darren Campbell, and I remember he'd given us a talk at one time when I was young, like 14 or something, and he said, whenever you break through, whenever you make it, just remember the game doesn't change. So I just remember saying to myself, I'm sat at Wembley, waiting to go out to play, but I'm saying to myself, the game doesn't change. You know what I mean? I'm this player that's got to this point. I've killed it in so many occasions, and I've managed to kill it early on in the year. Just because I'm at Wembley, and just because it's the Challenge Cup final, the game doesn't change, you know.
Yeah.
So, mate, yeah, there's a few months after that, we'd actually lost that game at Wembley, which was hard. But then a few months later, we'd beat the same team, Warrington Wolves, at Old Trafford. So I played at Old Trafford, and we won that one, mate. And it was like 18, mate. I should have still been dreaming it. Yeah. You know, I was living it.
So how did it feel growing up and just going through the ranks at such a young age, becoming a first team player at 18?
It felt. It was everything I'd always planned. Do you know what I mean? It was like which is why it's quite surreal. I'd had like a meteoric rise, mate, at that point up to being 18. You know, ever since I got into the reserves, and I played under 20s at 16, and I just felt this power, mate. I felt this ability.
Yeah.
Whenever I took to the field, I was just like, this is how I play. And you know, you sort of have that like healthy disrespect for like other opposition because they don't know how good you are, you know. And you're like, I'm going to show them how good I am. And it was just like reconfirming how good I was all the time. And then it got to the point of where I was obviously playing first team, and it was like another level, another step. And then you got another chance to surprise people, surprise yourself, mate.
Yeah.
You know, when you take to the field, you do stuff like when you're in that flow, you do stuff which you just don't even sort of like comprehend what you've done.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it was so exciting, and it just kept happening and kept sort of bumping on from there. You know.
So how did it feel growing up and then just becoming the next big thing for Leeds? You know what I'm saying? You were getting compared to Kevin Sinfield at a young age. How the mental impact? Did you feel any pressure growing up when you were getting compared to like Kevin Sinfield and you were supposed to be this next big thing? Did that ever?
I don't know. It's weird. Early on, it was just like I took it in my stride, you know. And the thing, you know, getting compared with Kevin Sinfield is obviously a massive thing, and you know, he's probably the most successful captain in rugby league, with what he's done. And I think I got compared to him just because of sort of similar mentalities, similar sort of, probably look similar as well, in a way. And then, but it was completely different players really, in terms of how we played the game. And sometimes I'd adapt how I play because I felt like, especially if I got put a standoff, I was like, oh, you've got to be more passy, you know, you've got to be like a bit more like, the way I played was just pick the ball up, mate, and run and see what happens, you know. But then I try and adapt and change the way I play because I got compared to Kev, and then you're playing in this big team. You're like, what do they want from me? You know, how do I deliver here? What is it that they want from me? Instead of going, this is what I want from me, and this is going to be the right way to deliver. You know. Yeah. You sometimes get a bit confused and mixed up. So yeah, man, there was pressure, and then there's that sort of idea that, you know, how much do you have to adapt yourself? Whereas you don't really have to adapt yourself at all. You just gotta flip in, plug away, and just
be yourself, innit?
Be yourself, mate. When you get onto the pitch, that's the biggest test. You cross that white line, and you're not thinking anymore. You're relying on everything you've always done to that point. You know, and then there you go. You just crack on, and let it flow. If you know what I mean.
So how did it feel, you know, just coming up the ranks, just being first team player, then becoming the captain of Leeds, and just looking up to Kevin Sinfield, and then people looking up to you? You know what I'm saying? How did that make you feel?
It's weird, mate. I think because you grow up and you think, oh, once I get to this stage, I've got to that stage, so it means I'm clear. You know, sometimes I'm clear. I'm at this point. You know, whether you get to a captain or whether you get to being the first name on team sheet, but because you've relied on yourself to get to that point by sort of striving, you know, and sort of being concerned and struggling, and all these different ways that you get to this point, that doesn't stop. You know, you get to this point and you're like, I need to be better at this. I need to do this, and you know, you can sometimes keep that. In a way, you've got to keep the discipline. You've got to keep the hard work, but it's like it's not just a clean sheet once you get there. You know, you're still working, and it's like it's always work, mate. It's always hard work, and for me, getting to that point, getting to captaincy. Starting off on that journey was another challenge, mate. It was another completely different sphere that I was in, different game for me. Yeah, of course. You know?
Because everyone's looking up to you now. Did you ever feel like there was any pressure when you was the captain to deliver on the pitch? And if your teammates weren't happy, did you ever feel like, right, I've got to step up now and make sure when we go out on that pitch, we give our all, and then
Yeah, but the thing is, mate, every time I took to the field, I'd leave myself out there fully anyway. You know,
Yeah.
I'd absolutely flipping.
leave your all there.
Yeah, I'd leave everything out there. So that for me, that wasn't a worry. It was more. I was in a position to make sure the rest of the team, the rest of the boys were on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a point in 2019 where we'd had David Ferner come into the team, who's an Australian, and he came in to coach the team after we'd had Brian McDermott for like 8 years. And he was an Aussie. He'd come in and he put this game plan on us as a team that was like a way that the Australian teams play, most of them play, and it's very different to the English game, mate. And he'd put this game plan on us and sort of said, look, all of you guys need to do this. And if we do this, we're going to be a good team. And it's like, well, it don't really work like that. We've got Adam Cuthbertson at the front, who's a prop forward, but he plays like a flipping loose forward standoff, you know, the way he plays. And we'd gone through this year, mate, and players didn't know why they were playing. They didn't know what they expected of each other. And it got to this point we played Bradford Bulls at their ground at Ossul in Challenge Cup. And I don't know if you remember it, mate. I don't know if you remember seeing it. But we got beat. And this is a week after Dave Ferner got sacked. And players were just like... I was injured. I had a knee injury, and I was out looking at it, and I'm like... I felt sick. Yeah. Because they want any soul on the field. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They want any they want any commitment. Yeah. It just looked like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just like no one was playing for the manager, they won't play for themselves.
Yeah, they weren't playing for each other. They all had a different game plan in their mind. You know, they all had different reasons why they were there. They had different reasons for why they should tackle for each other. And we got to this point where we had a video meeting of that game, of losing at Bradford, and the new coach, Richard Agar's like, he's pulling up like knock-ons and missed tackles and stuff, and I'm just sat there all the way through. I'm just like shaking my head. I'm just like, that's not the thing that we're looking at. Yeah. The thing that we need to be looking at is all of us sat in this room here, because there's no point looking at knock-ons, no point looking at missed tackles, because if we're not working for each other, if we don't feel a reason, if we don't feel a why to be on that field, then there's no point. And he's like, well, what do you think we need to do? I'm like, well, we need to sit down in a room and we need to speak to each other. We need to speak about why we're playing, why we're on this flipping planet. Yeah. We need to speak about what it means to us to be out there on the field, because we're not the Leeds Rhinos from the last 10 years. Yeah. We're completely different Leeds Rhinos. We've got people coming from Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Wigan. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like they're coming into this team where they don't understand what it's been like or what the Leeds way is. Yeah. You know? So we need to make our own. We need to understand what our own is. So I took the team through meetings, you know, about what our values are going to be as a team, what our principles are, how we measure it. Yeah. You know, and why we're playing. And man, I think we'd lost about 10 games in a row. And then the next game, we'd gone across to Wakefield. And the Wakefield were pretty good at that time. And they were favourites to beat us. First time in a long time that they were favourites. And it was pissing it down in rain, mate. And we beat them like 8-0. And we'd not conceded a try. And we'd not done that all year. And I'm like... You talk about like being a captain or a leader. You know, I'm not. I ain't got a son. I ain't got a daughter. I'm not a dad yet. But I imagine that's what it's felt like to be like a proud dad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or what a coach might feel. You know.
Do you feel like was that the highlight of your captaincy? Do you feel like that from then on it just felt like you took real leadership responsibility with them players after? Went back to the drawing board. How did you feel after that win?
So it was like, you know, we had a system. Yeah. You know, we had an understanding, and we had a reason to be there. We had a reason why to play for each other. So that was mega, mate. That moment was a real big moment. And then the next year we ended up winning the Challenge Cup. Yeah. But I guess this is the point. You know, you want a system as a team or as a captain. They'd won the Challenge Cup after I'd had my concussions, and I didn't play. But it was a completely different team, mate. You know, compared to what was going into that Bradford team.
Yeah.
It was a completely different team, and when you're an architect of an environment or a team or a culture, and you're seeing it thriving, and there's people digging in, and there's people enjoying going to training and that, it's like it's a good feeling. You know,
uplift your mood as well, isn't it? Just like everyone's coming in as a team now. We're playing as a team.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Everything like that. You briefly touched on about concussions. So when obviously you've retired quite early, do you feel like retiring at that age? What impact did that have? What impact did it affect you? Like the impact?
Yeah, I mean, physical stuff. So migraines. I still get headaches and migraines now. Dizziness, vertigo. You know, balance issues, coordination issues. I used to slur my speech a lot. It's got a lot better. Then the emotional stuff, you know, depression and anxiety, and you're going through all these feelings, all these emotions, and you're like, well, what's going on here? You know, like, what is going on? Why is my head not getting better? What's going on? Why am I not fit? I need to get back on the field. I need to get back in the team. You know, and then that makes it worse, and you stress yourself out even more. So a lot of it was stress, and a lot of it I didn't know what to do with my own emotions. I didn't know what to do with my head, and it's one of these injuries where not a lot of people know how to fix it. You know, not a lot of people know how to get better. I'd see the specialist and it's like, oh, it takes about 6 months. And I'd see him again. It'd be like, oh, sometimes it can take a year, sometimes it can take 2 years. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm sat here now 3 years later, I'm still getting headaches and stuff. So it's been, it's not been great, that side of it. But you know, I spent a lot of time away, spent a lot of time travelling recently.
You've gone down to London and Harrogate. You still go down to London and Harrogate too?
Yeah, mate, I went to New York and I went to try this treatment out in Mexico. I was about 8 months away travelling. Yeah. And it's funny, you know, because there's a choice. There's always a choice. And there's a choice for whether getting injured or even being a rugby player, all these roles and all these things that we want to do in the world, whether they define us as a person. And I remember going to get treatment in Mexico, and part of the treatment was I had to lay down for an hour every day whilst they did this treatment. I can't speak much about the treatment, but I did this thing called Yoga Nidra. I don't know if you've heard about Yoga Nidra, but it's like a meditation, but like a lying down one, and you'll scan your body. And you have to set intentions. You have to set intentions for why you're doing it. You know, which was bit like our team. You know, we needed to know why we're doing this thing, why we're turning out to play rugby, because it's not easy. You know, you need to have an intention, you need to have a why. So why are we going to do it? So we'd sit down as a team to set our intentions, but also in Yoga Nidra, I did that whilst I'm trying to get better. My intention was to heal, but also I had this phrase, kept having this phrase come to me. Is to live a life beyond my wildest dreams. So now why do I say that? I'm like, that phrase is coming to me, and I'm like, I never thought about that phrase. You know, it's one of those things, you hear it and it's like, I'm like, well, that's what I'm going to do now. Yeah. Because my wildest dreams were to play at Wembley Stadium, Old Trafford, win a grand final, be a captain of Leeds Rhinos. Yeah. That's where I got to. Yeah.
And now, the peak you feel like that was just like after you achieved everything?
Do you know what? Yeah, I can say that's the peak, and those moments are amazing. But now, I live a life where it's like, you know what I'm saying about those surprises that I used to have on the field, where I used to play and I used to go through a line and I'd put a step on, or I'd pass a ball, or I'd chip the ball over, and I'm like doing these things where I'm like, where did that come from? Now, I feel like I'm in a moment where that's happening with life. Yeah. So all the planning I can do, all the regiments I can put in place, and all these things I can put in, like, I don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, never mind 2 years.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to go well, you know?
It's right mentality, right mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to go well, mate, and it's going to go well even if I feel pain, even if I feel rubbish, even if I feel sad.
Yeah.
It's gonna go well, but where I'm going now is like, you know, those moments on the field are amazing and brilliant.
Do you miss playing rugby? Would you go back in time and what would you change anything from playing? Obviously, you've retired now for 2-3 years. Would you miss playing?
I can't. People say, "Oh, would you have played rugby if you knew what you knew now, and if you had this injury?" And I'm like, well, rugby was pretty much my life. You know what I mean? I can't even imagine a version of myself. I'd love to see it. It'd be a good experiment to see a version of myself that never played rugby, and see where he ended up and see what he ended up doing. But I'm not going to get to see that. But yeah, mate, sometimes I miss bits of it. I miss bits of it when I feel like I need to smash into a brick wall, and you know, it's a good way to. Yeah. I used to go to games sometimes. I'd be stressed. I'd have doubt. I'd feel fear about playing. I'd be anxious. I'd be nervous. And you go into this game and you're worrying about stuff from your life 2 years ago. You're worrying about what. But you go into this game and it's like none of that even matters because you flipping. You got these 18-stone men running at you and wanting to take your head off. And you're in this mode, and as I say, you surprise yourself all the time. You're playing these games, and then at the end of the game, you feel cleansed. Yeah. You're like.
So you know what, was rugby your safe spot then? For example, if you were stressed before a game, when you went onto that pitch, did it just wipe out everything?
Yeah, it did,
that
mate.
80 minutes was just.
It did, to be fair, and I think that's why when I'm speaking now, when I go do talks, I feel similar. I feel, mate, on the morning of a talk, I'll forget my phone. I'll flip in. I'll forget my notes. But it's all because I know that this, you know, in a talk is 60 minutes, in a game it's 80 minutes. I know that it's just me. Yeah. It's just me. People are relying on just me and my ability and what I've got inside me. So I can have my phone, I can have some notes, but it's just all
within yourself.
Yeah, it's all there. I don't need anything external. I'm all right. That's the challenge for me, going out and doing it myself. But also, mate, the times when I was winning these grand finals, times when I was playing, you close yourself off to a lot of life as well. You close yourself off to a lot of joy and happiness, because you shape yourself into this like machine. You know what I mean? This superhuman, this robot, because you're going out to play again and again and again, and you can't listen to pain, you can't listen to emotions. So you close yourself into this version of yourself, but at the same time, you're closing yourself off to the world, mate. You're closing yourself off to joy. You're closing yourself off to all these things that, if you were receptive to them, you'd be able to create better relationships, be able to feel joy from just waking up and going for a walk. You know, like I go for a walk now, mate, and everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's amazing. But 5 years ago, I'd have been thinking about what video review was going to be on Monday. I'd have been thinking about what do I say about this? You know, and it's like that's that's the piece for me now. It's
changed, didn't it? Because back then, when you was a rugby player, your life was controlled. When it wasn't, you didn't control your life. Weird as that sound, it's you were living for your team, everything, the media, your management, everything. Like now, you live for yourself, innit? You can walk down the street without a care in the world. You can say whatever you want. But back then, you had to be careful what you said online, everything. Do you feel like, do you prefer your life now, where you're living freely, or did you prefer when you was a rugby player, where you were stepping on thin ice? You had to be careful of what you said, what you had to do. You know what I'm saying?
It's true. I think there's a version where, you know, the last 2 or 3 years where I was playing, where I felt I could fully bring myself to the team, you know, or most of myself to the team. Yeah. And I could express myself, and and we're allowing others to, helping others to do it, and bringing this vibe, like, for want of a better word, a vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know. And that, I sort of say it's like a game of two halves.
Yeah.
The first half, when I was younger, you sort of coming into this world and you're just soaking everything up. You're learning how to be a man. You're learning how to be a leader. You're learning how to not listen to pain. You're learning how to be resilient. You're learning how to just do stuff, get stuff done, and run through brick walls again and again and again. Yeah. And I think it relates to a lot of men in terms of, I think, when you're growing up, you have to, there's that thing, that rites of passage, you have to prove that you're going to be a man, you have to prove that.
I think that's the wrong way of living though, innit? Because then that's where it's prideful, where mental health, that's where mental health comes into it, innit? Because living for others, or you're living to, I'm this big man, I can't get hurt, I can't be physically hurt or mentally hurt, I've got to just push underneath the carpet and go and weed there. I feel like that's the wrong way of seeing men. I feel like we need to come out and speak about how we feel, even if there's good and bad, you know what I'm saying? Just you have to get your feelings out and your emotions out.
That's the second half for me. I think the first half, is how I lived. You're keeping it inside and you're not speaking about the feelings. You're just going, I've got a game to play. This is who I am. This is, and you're closing yourself off, which is useful at times, but also it's harmful at times. The second half for me is connecting with those emotions again, connecting with that part of myself that has had no say for, most of my life. It's had hardly any say. It's been like locked tight, and then the second half is understanding, connecting with those emotions, connecting with those parts of yourself, and being more open, being more expressive, and that's where I'm at now. I'm like, how fun is it? Because it's sort of like you're looking at those pieces of yourself, or parts of yourself that you could say that you don't know, but also that you've forgotten. You've probably forgotten them from when you've been a kid, from when you've grown up, and it's that for me. That's the second half, and I don't know when the final whistle's going to go, but it's exciting.
So do you feel, since like you've come out and been a lot more open about, even like you've retired now at a young age and just like due to obviously concussion, do you feel like a lot of other rugby players have followed your footsteps and feel being like, Stevie's done it, he's the truth, he's gone out and spoke about his struggles? Do you feel like other rugby players have come out and spoke about them, or has anyone come up to you and spoke about them from the same industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, mate. I can't be fully sure that how much impact I've had, because you just don't know. Something might have gone in, something might have directed some person to somewhere else, and then it is like a goldfish bowl in rugby league. I think when I first spoke about it when I was 22, I think people were like, "Whoa, what's this about? What's going on?" He's 22 years old and he's put this out there. And I talk about authenticity a lot. I talk about feeling safe to be authentic. So there's one thing about going out there and being a man and getting stuff done, and that's we need to do it. But there's also a part of it where you go, am I safe enough here to be myself? Am I safe enough to be fully who I am? So to allow that, to allow for authenticity, to provide that safety, there's 3 C's that you need. You talk about context. That's the first C. There's context, connection, and choice. The first C is context, and I believe when I launched Mentality back in 2016, I was setting a new context. That's what I felt like when I'm saying, look, I felt this bad in and around winning, right? I felt this shocking. Why do I feel that bad? Why do we not speak about it? When you're talking about champions, they're always saying that they've overcome some adversity for this. So why do we not speak about it? Why is it not more open? So that, again, is sort of laying the context. And then when I think about connection, about the year after, in 2017, we'd had a pre-season camp in North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And basically, this camp, 8 of us had been asked to speak in front of the full team, right? Which is scary. You know, it's scary enough speaking on a podcast. It's scary enough speaking in front of a boardroom or whatever. But in speaking in front of your full team, 8 people had got asked to speak about anything. And most of those players got up and spoke about how much they'd struggled. They got up and spoke about feeling depressed, about anxious, about how hard the year had been before when it had been shocking. And all of a sudden, mate, you're getting this connection and people are like looking at each other and like getting closer. You're like, you're going, wow.
I feel it's the first step
power
in
this
it.
room. Oh, mate, the power in that room. And then I think about the third scene. I think about 2017 grand final. And I dislocated my shoulder in a semi-final.
Yeah. Isn't that the year you got called up to England as well, isn't it? And then you had to withdraw.
Yeah. Again, you know, you're talking about that third scene in terms of choice. I dislocated my shoulder in semi-final. I'd scored in the first 5 minutes and I was flipping on. Yeah, I was on. I was like so driven with this team who were just like on fire. And then 5 minutes before the end, or a few minutes before the end, I think, my shoulder just dislocated my shoulder. And I'm laying face down with my head and my face in the pitch. And I feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulder. Like my shoulder's out and I couldn't move. Anyway, the physios come on and they bring me off and my shoulder's out and it's like killing me. I'm walking out of the stadium in so much pain. I'm thinking all these people are just feeling sorry for me here. I'm just like, I was feeling sorry for myself. You know, I'm like, why has this happened again? I'm like, I'm trying to play in another final again. I've done all this stuff to get myself in a position where I'm on, you know, and I'm firing on and off the field. And I'm like, what's going on? And I was at the bottom of the barrel. We'd gone to the hospital because they couldn't put my shoulder back in at the stadium. They gave me enough morphine to knock out a bull. You know, that's what they're saying. I'm like writhing around in agony. I'm like, why is this hurting so much? Please give me some more morphine. They're like, we've already given you enough that's going to knock out a bull.
Must have been one of a kind.
Yeah, I know, mate, I know. Must have liked that morphine. But yeah, so they say to me, we can't get your shoulder back in. We're going to have to put you into theatre tomorrow morning, put you asleep, so that we can put your shoulder back in at 10 a.m. And I'm like, this is at like 11 p.m. at night. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? So I sat up all night with the shoulder out. Took me to theatre. And I remember there was a Wakefield nurse, a Wakefield fan. And I'm like, out of it, I'm in pain. And I'm like saying, oh, what do you reckon? Do you reckon there's a chance for the grand final next week? And he said, well, you never know. Put it back in, see what the damage is. And then it was like, lights out. Gone back in, theatre, put my shoulder back in. And I'm like, coming back out and got this sling on. And my mum and dad are there and they took me home. Go back home, go back to theirs for the weekend. So they can look after me or whatever. And I'm moping around like Saturday, Sunday. And it was Sunday evening. I started texting my teammates back. I was just sick of people feeling sorry for me. Well, a few teammates texted me asking me how I was. And just saying, look, we'll make your tackles for you. You know? That's what they say. I'm like, could have done it all year. You know what I mean? You would have started that before this. And I'm like, I'm texting these teammates and I'm thinking back, mate, to when I was younger. I'm thinking back, to be honest, I've always played with sore shoulders. Shoulders have always been sore. And in that moment, it was like I had a choice. I had such a clear choice. Sat on the armchair at my mum's and dad's, my arm in a sling. I'm like, I thought back about a game that I'd played when I was like 12. I'd ruptured my AC joint. Playing Bulldogs. You ever play Bulldogs at school?
Talk about that. Fractured my wrist. Was it fractured my wrist? Yeah, fractured my wrist doing that. My friend tripped me up, fractured it in school. I didn't know for 3 weeks in my wrist. just started bulging up like this. I had to go to hospital. And yeah, I had the slings. Yeah. Bulldogs,
See,
yeah.
you've done the same thing, mate. Bulldogs, it's not good for you.
It's not. I know.
I'd hurt my shoulder, done my AC jump, and then gone to hospital, all that. And 3 weeks later,
Yeah.
my team were playing against my amateur team, Treble Chiefs, they were called, were playing against Featherstone Lions,
Yeah.
and they were going to spank us. And I'm like, my team can't beat by as much. My team can't get beat by as much as if I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So I put bubble wrap on my shoulder, put these massive stag pads on to wear. And I went and played, and yeah, we got beat, but I played. And I'm sat in this armchair and I'm thinking, why would if I'm ever going to miss a game because I've got sore shoulders, it's not going to be this one.
Yeah.
So I made a choice. And I felt like I could make that choice. I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel like there were people saying to me, can you try and play, can you try and play? I felt completely in my own space to make a choice to play.
Yeah.
So, you know, that sort of like, that period when I decided to be more authentic and I decided to be more myself playing is what's carrying over into life now. You know, and those 3 C's, you can start thinking about them in life, mate. You start thinking about when I've actually felt like I can do what I do. You know, when I felt like I can be my best, what's the context? What connection have you got? And what's the choice that you've got? You know? And that's where you get creativity, mate. That's in like the 4th C. You get creativity because you feel safe enough to pull stuff out and do and work the magic, you know?
Wow, so you've very interesting story, Stevie. So since you started Mentality, do you feel like that's helped your mental health as well? People coming to you, asking you for help and just speaking about their problems with you. Do you feel like you're a key figure to them as well going forward as well?
I think probably one of the benefits of doing Mentality is the amount of deep, personal, honest conversations that I've had. Yeah. You know, with players that have spoken to me, they probably say more to me because they know that I guess I talk about this stuff. You know, they come up to me and talk to me. Yeah. Players that they've had concussion and that as well, you know, coming up to me and saying how they felt
at the time.
So I have a different
perspective
compared to a lot of other people, I guess. And mate, I probably have. I threw myself into that space when I was young, and understood what it was to grow up in a more authentic way. And then I think other players have sort of seen it and, you know, will speak to me and have more open conversations. And, you know, who knows, mate, as I said, who knows the impact that it's had.
Hopefully it's a positive one.
Yeah, hopefully it is a positive one. There's a lot of people that probably don't think it's a positive one as well, by the way. A lot of people think, or might think, that it's best to just shut up and get on with it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I disagree with that, in fact.
Yeah, but who knows, mate? We're all working it out along the way, aren't we?
Yeah. So touching briefly on, I was watching your documentary, just I'm Fighting a Battle. You went back to the Carnegie Stadium to watch Leeds, and you couldn't finish off the game. First half, you had to go home. I was recently looking at your Instagram. You went to Emirates, and it seemed that you watched the full game. How since then, 2-3 years ago to now, is it like your mental health, your stability? How is that compared to when you first, retired and you made your documentary?
Yeah, it's a good question, mate. I think. Yeah, back then it was hard. It was just like, it was relentless. Going to that stadium and, mate, we picked the worst place to go to watch that game. It was right above the crowd in the south stand.
I see in the stand as well.
Like, what are we doing here? And just the more and more we were there, the worse I was getting a headache. I started to feel sick. And I was like, yeah, we've done enough here. Yeah. You know, just get me out of here. So it's been, it's been up and down, mainly up, mate, since that point. There was a period for about 3 or 4 months when I was in New York, and it was over the summer. I think sunlight really helps. But I managed to get through to another level. Managed sound. We went to concerts. I thought I'm going to just go to a concert and just push through it. and just kept pushing through it. And then, as you say, like the Emirates game the other day, still felt bits from it. Still felt like dizziness coming out of it, and sort of a bit of an headache, but it was nowhere near compared to what it was, you know.
Yeah. You've come a long way though. Like you finished off that game compared to when.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Mate, I'm loads better, and it's good you say that. It's good that you sort of highlight the fact. It's very smart to sort of highlight. Boom, what is it? 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2021. That
2021,
documentary came out. Yeah, so just less, but yeah, miles better, mate. Miles better. Like before, I used to do like Super League show and stuff with these lights, and I'd have migraines coming. Do you know what I mean?
So do you still have to sleep during the day? Because I watched it all, and it seems like sometimes your missus would come home and you'd be just laying down sleeping throughout the day.
Yeah.
You still sleep throughout the day at times, or
not a lot, mate.
Better?
Not a lot. I try and keep myself up, to be honest. I try and keep going with it, and try and push through it, and try and teach my brain that it's all right. Just flipping, stay on, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I've not been like in bed with a migraine for a good while. You know what I mean? Like I keep going with it. There's some days where I'm like knackered, and some days where I just need to say, all right, Stevie, just chill out here. You know.
So do you have a schedule as well? For example, when you do feel knackered, do you have a schedule like how you'd sleep throughout the? If you need to sleep throughout the day, what hours would you sleep throughout the day, and how would you get on with them days then? Mate,
to be honest, no. I just have a schedule for what I'm doing.
Yes.
You know, like who I'm meeting and stuff, and then like for instance, yesterday, I had some meetings and stuff, and I just said, look, mate, and to be fair, it's probably a lot of people could take the message on and say like, look, mate, I'm not fully there, you know, for this. You know, I'm not. I've got to take it easy here. So yesterday was one of those days, but yeah, man, it's. I guess the period where you close off all the lights, you know, you turn off the screen and stuff. Those periods are less.
Do you feel like you're becoming back to reality, normal life-ish? It's like, do you feel like you're getting closer and closer as time goes on? Because you have made
I've definitely made progress, mate. Probably, there's probably moments where I feel like normal. Yeah. But as I say, you know, I had that period in the summer where I was like, I'm getting better. You know, I'm getting better. I'm exercising more. I'm training more, and feeling less headaches and stuff. And then you get to come back in the winter. You know, this is why I think sunlight is a big thing. Headaches just all the time. Yeah. I remember having a flu for a week, and then it's like that broke the barriers a little bit, you know, and it just headaches all the time and dizzy and stuff. And for some reason recently I've been dizzy walking and that, and I'm like, why has it started again? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's so confusing because it's not like a linear thing. It's like up and down and round and round.
So since hot weather's better for you, wouldn't you just like live it abroad then? You know what I'm saying? Since that helps you with your mental health as well. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like when you're under the weather, you don't feel like you're knackered. You got migraines, and if sunlight's the way forward for you, would you ever consider just like leaving England and just moving?
Yeah, I mean that's what we're considering, travelling, mate, all that time in 2021, was it? 22. You know, was away.
Now,
mate, it's weird, isn't it? I'm like, what year are we in? 22. Was away a lot for 8 months, and you know, we're considering it, and we still are considering it, mate. Actually, about, you know, where do we set our foundations in? Where do we put sort of like settle down a little bit? And yeah, mate, honestly, mate, this winter seems so long.
Last week it was snowing, wasn't it?
Mate, I'm like, what is going on here? What is
Tuesday as well, isn't it? You seen the weather at Tuesday, wouldn't you?
Yeah, mate, it's like just like because we were away last winter in Mexico, and it was just like
the weather was better there, innit?
Yeah, man, it was so good. It was
probably as dark as me then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, nearly, mate, nearly. But it made beautiful out there. But it is a big thing, you know, sunlight.
Yeah, it is.
But it's the connection thing that's biggest for me, you know, and it's about sort of working out for me now as a speaker, like where do I get the most gigs? You know, where do I need to base myself? And probably, mate, I can base myself wherever I want, to be honest, because it's easy enough to fly over to London to do a gig. So yeah, man, to be continued on that one, I think.
Yeah, I'll be on the show soon. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, all right.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for today on Don't Be Shy podcast, and thank you, Stevie, for taking time out your busy schedule to come and see me.
Cheers,
I
brother.
appreciate it. And yeah, I'll just leave his description of mentality down below, and just let me know what you lot want to see. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you check out Fentiago on Instagram as well, and I'll leave Stevie's details down below. Thank you for today.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.